from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
More demonstrations happening across San Diego County today as protesters call for justice for George Floyd. Good evening, I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. In Escondido, hundreds of people gathered this afternoon in front of City Hall to make their voices heard. Our 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala is joining us where this protest is still going strong 3 hours later. Mimi.
Yeah, Steve and Kim, there are hundreds of protesters out here. You can hear them right now coming down the street. They've been gathered outside of City Hall pretty much since 2 p.m. and began marching down the streets with police trailing behind just about an hour ago. Officers have now blocked off Broadway and Valley Parkway and also part of Grand Avenue. This has been a peaceful protest all day long.
We have to all stand up together.
And I can't just pretend anymore that it's not happening.
A moment of silence outside of Escondido City Hall Friday as people continue to call for police reform and racial justice.
We are tired of injustices, police brutality everywhere across the world. You know, the whole world standing up. And we want to make sure that Escondido gets its chance to stand up too.
This is just one of several peaceful protests in Escondido this week. Many people have been requesting that police be retrained in de-escalation methods. On Wednesday, Police Chief Ed Varso heard those concerns and joined demonstrators as they took a knee in honor of George Floyd.
When one cop does something bad, all cops should say something.
Along busy Grand Avenue, owners of small businesses boarded up their windows in anticipation of any potential violence that could erupt over the next several days.
We just want to protect what we have.
Nancy Leon's family owns a salon, a barbershop, and a clothing store. All three businesses were hit hard by the shutdowns due to COVID-19.
We decided to open and then protesting starting in Escondido, so we had to close it back up again.
Leon supports the demonstrators and the cause, but says she worries about the idea of anyone looking to take advantage of the situation.
Keep it peaceful. We have lots of little businesses that we're trying to take care of our own family. If you ruin our businesses, where are we going to feed our children from?
Now again, police are out here shutting down streets and trailing behind the protesters. This has gone on for several hours now, but again, everything has remained peaceful. We're live in Escondido. Mimi Alcala, 10 News.
Mimi, thank you. And right now, around 250 protesters are gathered in Carlsbad. Waves of demonstrators started filling into Cannon Park around 2:30 this afternoon. Carlsbad police say that they are gathering for a peaceful program and presentation. The department says they will stay out there with those protesters as long as they are needed to ensure everyone's safety.
As protests continue today, San Diego County Sheriff Bill Gore spoke of his hope and pride for peaceful demonstrations. As police are being scrutinized nationwide, he reiterated his department's commitment to the First Amendment right to protest.
When I look at the peaceful protests that I've seen growing around the county, it makes me really proud, and I'm sure that our fellow San Diegans feel that same pride. And I said it before, and I want to say it again, the Sheriff's Department strongly supports your expressing your First Amendment rights through these protests.
He said his department will continue to listen, have respectful dialogue, and be held accountable.
And more protests are happening coast to coast over the death of George Floyd. As you probably know by now, 4 officers from the Minneapolis Police Department, they've been arrested and charged. And as ABC's Alex Perche shows us, sweeping changes are being made, much like we're seeing here in San Diego County with the ban of police chokeholds.
Today, the Minneapolis City Council approving a restraining order against the Minneapolis Police Department, essentially forcing them to comply with the changes that the state's Department of Civil Rights might find necessary during its investigation of the MPD.
We have to be on the precipice of change, and that there are reforms that are just generations past due.
The city has also agreed to ban the use of chokeholds by police and require police to report and intervene anytime they see unauthorized force by another officer. This as the family of George Floyd prepares for his funeral. And new details about a possible defense strategy 2 of the officers are taking in this case. Tao, Alexander King, and Thomas Lane each face felony aiding and abetting second-degree murder charges. Derek Chauvin, whose knee was on Floyd's neck, charged with second-degree murder. King and Lane, both rookies, their attorneys now pointing the finger at Chauvin. King's lawyer saying his client was only on his third shift as a full-time officer and that he told officers, "You shouldn't do this." While touting positive economic numbers today at the White House, this comment from President Trump.
Hopefully George is looking down right now and saying this is a great thing that's happening for our country.
Vice President Pence and the First Lady offered online condolences for the Floyd family during yesterday's memorial. Trump hasn't spoken directly about that event, despite sending a flurry of tweets about other topics, including the protests over the last couple days. Local leaders in D.C. making a point of that.
I want to call attention today to making sure our nation is more fair and more just.
Just steps from the White House overnight, the words Black Lives Matter painted in bright yellow on the pavement. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser saying this stretch is now officially Black Lives Matter Plaza. In Buffalo, 2 officers were suspended and criminal charges are possible because of what happened in this video. The officers shove a 75-year-old protester who falls to the ground. He's seriously injured. The officers walk past. One appears to radio for help. Police initially claimed that the man tripped and fell, the governor calling it an utter disgrace.
You see that video, and it disturbs your basic sense of decency and humanity.
And in L.A., the mayor announcing he's going to cut the police department's $3 billion budget by as much as $150 million. The police union responding to that today, saying the mayor's lost his damn mind. Alex Brochet, ABC News, Minneapolis.
A little more than 2.5 million Americans are back to work after losing their jobs during the coronavirus outbreak. It is a surprising but positive announcement from the Labor Department. And we're diving into where those jobs are returning as part of our Rebound initiative. Our 10 News reporter John Horn explains why the competition for jobs could be tight.
Whitney Klimenson's recent shift at a Carlsbad restaurant wasn't nearly as crowded.
We're only having 3 people work on a Friday, Saturday, where we would have 5 to 6.
She's instead spending most of her time trying to get through to the EDD and figure out why weeks of her unemployment are still unpaid.
I would wait for hours on hold if it meant talking to somebody, but they just say, "Oh, we can't take your call at this time."
Klimenson's one of more than 200,000 San Diego County workers who lost their jobs in March and April amid the pandemic. It's a number that many economists expected to grow in May. But surprising news came out of Washington, D.C. on Friday. The Labor Department reported that 2.5 million Americans went back to work last month, led by hiring in the restaurant industry.
Here in San Diego, a bigger portion of our economy is in food and drinking establishments employment. What we would see then is a big rebound in that area.
The hiring also picking up in San Diego. Andrew Fagali just opened Dave's Hot Chicken in Pacific Beach. He's hosting a job fair Monday with at least 10 openings.
We start above minimum wage, so we want to make sure we get the best and the brightest, and a big perk is free food.
But like many restaurants, Dave's is not opening for in-house dining. That means while hiring is picking up, many restaurant jobs won't come back for a while, if at all. John Horn, 10 News.
And we have all of the necessary information and other job search resources on the special section of our website, 10news.com/rebound. And those stocks, they surged over the strong jobs report. Economists had been expecting the opposite news, but it appears the reopening of several states led to more Americans returning to work. At the end of the day, the Dow gained 829 points to close above 27,000. The NASDAQ rose almost 200 points. The S&P went up 81 points.
Here are the latest coronavirus numbers in San Diego County. Today, the county reported 240 new cases. That brings our total to 8,180. 6 more deaths were reported, bringing that total to 294. The state of California will begin reopening more industries, including daycares, bars, and gyms, as soon as next week.
That's right. And our 10 News reporter Jennifer Dela Cruz is joining us from home, where this is a big step forward for a lot of places. Jen.
That's right, guys. It certainly gives a lot of hope to businesses and services who rely on that income that they've been missing for months now. The county gave us an idea of what that would look like today in a press conference. The state is now making strides toward another phase of reopening. The next step calls on more businesses and services that have been shut down since the middle of March. Day camps, campgrounds, and hotels. Several forms of family entertainment would be able to reopen, like bowling alleys and batting cages. The plan also applies to bars and wineries, zoos, museums, and pro sports with no spectators. It does not, however, include nail salons or tattoo shops. And the state early on indicated they may be allowing schools to reopen. However, the county did not address schools at their press conference today. Supervisor Fletcher says the county expects to get more details on specific guidance for reopening sometime later today, with a plan to reopen in as soon as 1 week.
That gives these businesses and industries about a week to look at that guidance, look at our safe reopening plan on our county website, and begin the thought process to prepare to move no sooner than June 12th. Over the weekend, we will evaluate the guidance that comes out, continue to monitor our situation, and we think we'll have more updates throughout next week.
So reopening as soon as June 12th, guys.
Jen, thank you. And you can find a list of the businesses that have been cleared to reopen on our website. Just go to 10news.com and look for this story on the homepage.
We have a 10 News follow-up on the Coronado teenager who was shot in a jewelry sale gone wrong. Jake McHenry's family tells us he is continuing to improve. They say his kidneys and liver are almost back to normal and his infection is almost gone. The doctors have told the family that Jake may be able to return home as soon as Monday. The family would also like to thank everyone for their continued prayers.